And obviously the interviews here, the videos are for the benefit of our audience, our customer base, to try and find out a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes with IASeminars. And I'm now talking to Deborah Fyfe, aka Debs. That's how we always call you, isn't it, Debs?
It is.
So to begin with, can I ask you just to maybe explain to everybody your role and maybe how long you've been with the business?
Absolutely, yeah. So I joined IASeminars back in 2007. I had to check that actually just to verify because it's a long time ago.
A long time ago.
Check notes, yeah. And back then it was mainly London-based in terms of the staff actually all being in London. I started working in the customer services. I was going to say team, but there wasn't a team. It was a joint effort. And so this was really IASeminars in its form at that time, bringing together a business with defined roles.
Right.
So really getting ready for a little bit of growth. So they'd worked a lot in the IFRS market around Europe. Okay. Had some North American business, did a little bit of US GAAP. And just as I was joining, it was getting quite interesting because they were starting to do some IPSAS training. They were expanding into the Middle East and Africa.
Oh, right.
And so for someone who'd just come out of the hospitality business, not an accountant,
right.
Not really any kind of any exposure at all to international accounting, suddenly to arrive in this world, it was quite dazzling, but extremely exciting, having felt like I'd stagnated in hospitality for a while and really fancied getting into something a bit different. This was a real opportunity to be in a Scottish location, but to be working with a London-based team and an international role of clients and instructors. So it was fantastic, really exciting.
And your title now is?
It is managing director.
You're the big cheese.
Absolutely, yes.
So is being the big cheese that we all, answer to and take our guidance from and get told off by, I suppose, it's never. What do you think for you has been the biggest change over those years from where you started out to where you are now? Because that is 15 years.
Yeah. So the change to managing director came around about 2017, 2018. So there was a lot of organic change in these 10 years. It was sort of my role grew as the business grew,
okay,
and
right.
what we do in IASeminars as a team is we really adapt, and we're really lucky to have a dynamic where everybody complements everybody else. So there's been a lot of push and pull, change throughout people's roles over time, and what we did have for much of my time at IASeminars was an owner manager.
Okay.
At IASeminars, Mark Gardner. And so I worked with him, extensively. And I guess there was, when he sold the business, there was an empty chair there. So,
right, okay.
But in terms of what was the biggest change, I don't actually think going from being operations director to managing director was the biggest change. There was a time where I moved from customer services into a sort of marketing role, and it was too specific for me, and we quite quickly did that thing where we reorganize everything again. And so I kept a little bit of the marketing remit, but customers and products really are the areas where I sit most comfortably, so it was good to be back in.
So lots of changes. So managing director, you are obviously, I presume obviously involved in, the strategy of the business, and you clearly have seen lots of changes over the years. What would you say has been I suppose, the biggest challenge over, let's say, and there's something that always comes into mind when we talk about challenges over the last couple of years, but I just want to see whether there's anything, really, really significant, apart from maybe COVID, that's been the biggest challenge or the biggest change.
There's definitely been a number of things happen globally, which have been kind of good practice for COVID in terms of managing to keep the show on the road and keep going. So, for example, the financial crisis, we know that what we do delivers value to the people who come to our courses, to those that commission an in-house training, whatever. But at the same time, facts are facts. When the going gets tough, training budgets are usually first to go. So when you see a financial crisis of the magnitude that we had back then, that really was a killer for a lot of budgets. And so we managed to change and adapt, and we managed to keep going and get back into a sort of growth mode relatively quickly. Another blow was the USA not adopting IFRS or confirming that they weren't going to.
Okay, right.
So they never confirmed that they were going to, but there was a lot of anticipation. And a lot of preparation by US companies who were having a feel around and doing lots of comparative training. And suddenly it was definitely not doing that. So again, that was something which was quite disruptive to the business. And then we've had smaller scale things that have happened to us. So for example, working with African markets, there are lots of things that can happen in the country there, which can just really impact what your customers are able to do. So in Nigeria, for example, one of the elections was particularly disruptive to the ability of public sector accountants to be able to book training outside of the country.
All right,
and for our ability to go in until things had kind of settled down and new governments and all of the sort of regime change had taken place. And then, of course, there's COVID. So we were primarily a face-to-face training company. So one great thing, obviously, that's come out of it for us and lots of other organizations is that you adapt to change and you get into that virtual platform very, very quickly. So now we have something else to do. But
and I've spoken to others about this and the... and I'm sure for other businesses as well, what was a big challenge actually became an opportunity as well. Yeah.
You can only look at that really in hindsight. I guess you're kind of aware at the time, like, this is something new that we're doing. And our real conscious decision was we're going to do it well. We're going to do it, we want to roll out a virtual product which as closely mirrors the face-to-face classroom experience as we can. But at the time, it's more about what are we doing with our team? Is everybody safe? Is everybody well? Are our clients, what's happening to our clients? And some were able to keep in touch, others were furloughed. So you kind of almost have a bit of a blindfold on as well when you are trying to plan what you do. So you really have to hook on to what you are aware of, go with your gut instinct to some degree, because we didn't know if anybody was actually going to show up in virtual classrooms. What we did know, though, was that lots of people were buying in-house training on that platform. It gave us the confidence to know that we could present it, and a bit of an inkling that there was some market there. So, you really have to go with all these things. And then again, as we always do at IASeminars, we come back to the team, the commitment that they show, the interest in looking after one another, and the interest in serving our customer base and making sure there's something for those customers actually to have, to use, to buy from us.
And Debs, one of the things that's come across from the interviews so far is, I'm going to say the word collaboration, and I think I'm getting that feeling again here. Do you think, I'm not sure whether, all our customers maybe are aware of what happens, in Scotland, in not many, households that brings this all together. I mean, that must be a tremendous you know, tremendously great feeling to be, you know, the linchpin for how that all works.
It really does. I don't know, is it truly unique what goes on here? I think it's special, whatever you call it. It's special because we do have a team, as I said earlier. There's really good, what's the word? There's loads of skills, and everybody works together using those skills, and you really build strength from that element of collaboration, knowing what your colleague is good at and less good at, and then, you know, fitting in around about that, and everybody does that. And we all just have the common goal of wanting to do the very best. So provide the best product, make everybody happy, and get to know them as well. Maybe we're all a little bit nosy, and that might really help. Because
I thought only accountants were nosy, but yeah, it's good. It's
the
good.
Customer services team, you know, like to have a chat, and clients do as well, because we're people. We want we want to tell people what's going on. We want to share stories, and that's really what we do. And then again, you know, you've got to give a mention to the faculty. You are, you know, one of these presenters that when people have been to your course, they want to come back. It's not just about showing up to that room in London or Amsterdam or New York and telling people about IFRS or whatever the topic is. It's about, you know, we always use the anecdote. It's like putting somebody on the bus to Oxford Street and saying, you know, here's how you get here. These are the stores you can go to. This is the nice restaurant to go to. And then asking the next day, what did you buy? You know, it's all very people orientated.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's about life as well as about training. Yeah.
So here we are. We're you know, in the 20th anniversary of the founding of IASeminars. What do you think is going to be for the next 20 years then? And of course, you're going to still be there in 20 years' time. What do you think is the next big thing for the next 20 years?
I need to think about that one, actually, carefully. No, I'm really excited for what's to come for IASeminars, and for the accounting world and for the business world in general. I know that there's a lot of cynicism out there about what ESG and what sustainability reporting is going to come. And I think there's a long way to go until we see these platforms and these methods of reporting and the theories and the principles behind them all settle down. But is it not all for the greater good eventually? And we really want to play a part in all of that. We obviously want to grow our business, employ more people, spread the word a little more. And to have all of that laid out in front of you and to be able to deliver it in face-to-face, in virtual platforms, it feels really good and it feels exciting. Brilliant. And I feel like we all deserve a bit of excitement after the last couple of years.
Absolutely. That's brilliant. So one final thing, Debs, on this. I've been asking everybody for just an interesting fact about yourself that you would care to share.
An interesting fact about myself that I would care to share. I don't know if it's interesting that
that's what everybody said, and it's always interesting.
Well, you'll find it interesting, but you know already that I do share a love of jumping in the sea regularly, of course. But that's really mainstream now, isn't it?
But it's still interesting. I mean, but every day is different, isn't it? In that water, every day is different.
Yeah, but something that I've discovered this year is actually I prefer it in the winter than in the summer. Yeah.
Nice and cold.
Fellow lunatic.
But and being in Scotland, I think it might be a little bit colder than down here, I would think, as well, which is very interesting. It
can be quite bracing in the winter months, yeah, for sure. But there are no jellyfish, so we're plagued with jellyfish at the moment.
I think that's fantastic. So are you swimming every day or every day?
Not at the moment. Just a wee bit hectic for that, and I'm not maybe as good at getting up early in the morning as the best time to fit it in, really.
Well, thanks, Debs. Thanks very much for that. It was really, really interesting. And as I keep saying, happy birthday, IASeminars.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All the best.
Thanks, Rob.